his assistant.
Okay, number one, this woman is definitely attractive enough to like 99% of guys. Maybe even top 1% if she made it easy enough, okay? This is a decently attractive person. I don't know where, unless she's like hideous but either close. So it's really weird that he's like gatekeeping her attractiveness. Sneeko with this girl if she came into his DMs, 1,000,000,000,000% without a second thought. Number one, okay? Number two, it's funny, he's asking the same question that I ask, but he's asking it in the exact opposite way. I always ask this question. I don't know why rich people or like influential people, women, because why the f do you have to? You have so many other people that you could just, that you don't have to, I don't know why people do it, but they do. And like we see that over and over again, that it happens. So him being like, well, a rich person would never somebody because they could other people. Why? Like what?
Sends us an Uber to where we are after the UFC fight and brings us back to the Courtyard Marriott where we were supposed to be waiting for Alex to get back from an interview, I think he said, and then we were gonna go out. He was talking.
Chama, he doesn't even speak English, right?
Talking about going to strip clubs and like having a fun night while we were all in New Jersey, New York for the weekend. We wait for like 2.
I know you consider being called a communist the same level of threat as being called Hitler, right? No, today? No, I don't think so. I don't think communist necessarily carries the same weight today that it did like 20 years ago. Calling people a commie, like I would say up through the 90s and 2000s was a pretty serious thing. I don't know if it carries like the same weight anymore. I think it's kind of a dead insult. Past like maybe what, 2015 maybe? I don't know. I think they called Obama a communist up until he was out of office, but.
Hours for Alex to come while his friend is on the phone talking about like kids with cancer and big money transfers and things that had to do with Alex. And we were like, hey, it's getting kind of late. Like, is Alex coming? Like, what's the plan? Should we just go back home? Because we're kind of tired. Like, if we're going to have plans, can we like get on with it? Because it's
also, think about this. A girl in her late 20s who's selling her body online with a nose ring, single. Why would you, like, think about why would she reject Alex Pereira? I'm not trying to glaze. I know this is not trying to be bumbleclad. Why would she reject Alex Pereira? What is he, 6'7", 2 belts? How many titles? 4? What else are you looking for if not Alex Pereira?
He's so cringe. He's like such a fucking incel. Oh, that's such a cringy, that's such an ick statement. Oh my god. He's tall, he's got money? Like how could any girl ever say no?
It's already getting very late. At this point, I think it was like 2 or 3 in the morning.
Alright, I don't even want to hear this witch talk. I ain't gonna lie. Oh no, look at her sad. Look at her face.
What's gonna happen?
Oh, really?
I'm pushing him off of me.
Oh,
get off.
What, really?
He eventually pulls my underwear and my pants down to around like halfway on my thighs, and I push him off again.
Yeah.
He gets out of bed.
You pushed him off? I know he came from a kickboxing background, but bitch, I'm pretty sure his grappling's better. If he wanted to pin you down, there's no struggle. You're out. You're out.
He starts screaming and putting his sock.
Generally, when you're being a woman, okay, somebody with a lot of experience, you're not actually like in the events where guys are applying like a lot of pressure to have sex that they might not want to have. It's not usually like a full-on like I'm full grappling you in MMA, UFC. Like usually it's just like push, push, push. So yeah, but most of the time a woman's pushing back full force, you're gonna be like the guy will generally get off, like not get off that way. But I don't think she's trying to claim that like, yeah, we got into like a legit grappling match and I was able to win the struggle. Like it's just stupid. Why am I listening to this? Stop linking me Sneeko clips.
Clothes on.
Bro, Alex Pereira does not scream. He's never screamed. In every fight. He's the most quiet, stoic.
I'm terrified because I don't know what's happening. My pants are around my legs after I told him no and pushed him off, and he's screaming in another language. Me and my friend are looking at each other.
She doesn't even know the language. In the face-offs, this is Chama.
Okay. People are saying this girl's story is fake anyway. I have no idea. I don't know anything about her story, but that doesn't change any of the things I just said about what Sneeko said. So I don't know why you're bringing that up as a counterpoint. Although the thing being linked in chat, I don't know if this would influence anything one way or another. Nice fake allegations. I hope your failed OF career produced enough money for defense lawyers. The money I'm making from all the exposure to my OnlyFans will pay well for them. if you're linking this and you think this is like proof that the allegation is fake, you're probably retarded. But I don't know if her allegations are credible or not. I haven't read anything about them. I have no opinion on them, but. Can you be a state governor and vice president simultaneously, or is a replacement state governor chosen? I think you typically choose a replacement. I think that's a thing that people consider sometimes because they're like, oh, well, if we take him from this state, is the next person to come up going to be a Republican or a Democrat? I don't know if there's like a law against being one or the other, or like being both at the same time. I'm not sure. But I don't think people ever do it. That'd be pretty interesting though, right? Have a governor who's also vice president. Why don't women like this ever go to the hospital for a rape kit and medical examination to document proof of forcible entry, bruises, semen, etc.? She might have. I don't know if we did or if she did or didn't. I don't know anything about her. But also, remember, okay, people forget this because people hear crazy stuff about like criminal stuff sometimes, okay? Circumstantial evidence, all right, can be used to convict for crimes, which is fine, okay? Circumstantial evidence just means that there are circumstances that you've observed that like a reasonable person can infer like something happened here, basically, right? Remember that rape kit or rape kit, that this is circumstantial evidence of a rape occurring. All a rape kit can tell you basically is that somebody had sex with somebody and there might be like defensive wounds or like evidence of like, you know, some kind of rough entry, but a rape kit on its own doesn't prove rape. Okay, it doesn't work that way. Yeah, just remember that. But she might have got one too, you know, who knows? We don't know. Is there any non-circumstantial evidence for rape then? Well, I mean, direct evidence is usually eyewitness testimony or what all is considered direct evidence of a crime? Different types of direct evidence. Confessions and eyewitness accounts are examples of direct evidence. Another example of direct evidence is character evidence. This is evidence that shows how a defendant typically behaves rather than proving that the defendant committed a specific crime. Some examples of direct evidence includes eyewitness testimony and confessions. Eyewitness testimony is the most common form of direct evidence. Direct evidence is evidence that directly links a defendant to a crime. In other words, direct proof is courtroom testimonies, expert opinions, and other kinds of proof that don't require inference to establish a claim. This form of evidence can be used to demonstrate that the defendant was at the scene of the crime, committed the offense, or had the intention to commit the crime. I think it's typically as eyewitness testimony. It's going to be like by far your most common form of. Would camera footage count as direct evidence? Yeah, obviously, if it saw the crime, yeah. The thing that makes like rape so special and difficult from a mens rea point of view is the thing itself is not a crime. It's like the relationship kind of between the two people as the event is occurring, right? Like you're basically, if you punch somebody, you're never going to be able to argue in court that like, well, he wanted me to punch him, right? That just doesn't happen. But for rape, it's a lot more difficult to head down a criminal conviction pathway for that. Even if DNA can be considered circumstantial, if they find semen inside a woman alleging rape, is that direct evidence? Or I believe that's only circumstantial evidence, because I don't think you have direct evidence of the crime of rape. You just have evidence that they had sex. But I believe that's only circumstantial, right? Like that would be the same as like, let's say somebody got stabbed at a person's house and you find a person's footprints there from like a unique shoe or something, or like fingerprints or something. That would only still be, I believe, circumstantial evidence, because it's not direct evidence that they committed a crime. It's just the circumstances of that thing show that they were in a place at an area or whatever. They could have committed it, like circumstantial, I believe. I believe that's the case.
Okay, this is like my 40th time trying to make this video, so I'm going to try to do it again without crying.
10 minutes. I ain't got time for this bullshit. Don't care. You can have direct evidence of their mens rea. Yeah, but that's going to be really hard. That would be like in the form of them confessing something or somebody like witnessing them saying something. I feel like it'd be pretty hard. Not impossible, but also it doesn't matter because you don't need direct evidence to convict on things. What are the chances that crooked Joe Biden, the worst president in the history of the U.S., whose presidency was unconstitutionally stolen from him by Kamala? What does Kamala mean? What is this insult supposed to stand for? Obama? Obabla? Kamabla? Kamabla Barack Hussein Obama. Crazy Nancy Pelosi. Why are we spam captioning his Hussein? Crazy Nancy Pelosi, shifty Adam Schiff, crying Chuck Schumer, and others on the lunatic left crashes the Democrat National Convention and tries to take back the nomination. Beginning with challenging me to another debate, he feels that he made a historically tragic mistake by handing over the U.S. presidency, a coup, to the people in the world he most hates, and he wants it back now. Okay, Jesus.
Let's make him regret ever stepping foot onto our Earth.
Hey, it's Jared. Here's how to stay zen in college for less with Amazon. Lamp, oil diffuser, fake plants, extra comfy floor pillows, and crystals, the source of all my powers.
In a test, they had a chance to appeal that to avoid being banned, and they chose not to appeal it. That is so damning.
They chose not to appeal it. He's talking about the fact that the IBA tested both athletes in 2022 and 2023. I believe they appealed the first test, which I don't know how they appealed that and they won if they have XY chromosomes. And they didn't appeal the second test. But the second test that they didn't appeal was by the time the IBA had their membership from the IOC officially withdrawn. So it's not that surprising, maybe, that they just didn't even bother appealing. Maybe they felt like they weren't going to compete in IBA stuff. I don't know if any competitor leagues have stepped up, but like, would you say that's damning?
And even if it isn't, even if it was all terribly unfair, as Cenk and Wajat would like us to...
Like, if you tested a simple chromosome test or something in 2022, why did you let them compete the next year? That's a big question that I want the IBA stands, okay, our little Russian Sputniks, to answer. If they tested them in 2022, why were they allowed to compete in 2023?
To believe, do another damn test then. Show the world you're actually biological women. And there's a reason they're not doing it.
I thought about this more last night about, like, why wouldn't you just do a test? And I think that I haven't gone through all the, believe it or not, I'm not an Olympic athlete. The more I thought about it, I don't know if there's anybody that's competed in anything that does testing. My guess now would actually be, if you're an athlete, you probably never submit to a test unless it is demanded by the league, because you're probably setting a really, really, really nasty standard, a really bad standard by doing so. And I wonder if every other athlete would look at you like, the f are you doing? Why the f would you do this? This isn't demanded of us. Now you're basically you're creating the expectation that, what, are we all going to have to test to be women now because you decided to do it? If the IOC, if the Olympic Committee demands that you test for it, then you test for it. If that's a new regulation rule you follow, then fine. But you don't just randomly submit fucking test results until you've appeased like random haters online. Why would you ever submit yourself to that? The only people that should matter here would be the Olympic Committee. And if you want, you can petition the Olympic Committee to change their rules that require different testing. But why would you go to the individual athletes? I would be surprised if any individual athlete just like consensually, like, oh yeah, just test all my shit, knock yourself out, you know?
Riley.
Absolutely. We see a lot of information being pushed out there that these are just cisgender women with elevated levels of testosterone. The IBA made it very clear.
The IOC allows low-test males to compete in women's sports, though? What? Source?
They did not do testosterone level testing. They never did that, not even one time. We don't know.
Riley.
Absolutely. We see a lot of information being pushed out there that these are just cisgender women with elevated levels of testosterone. The IBA made it very clear they did not do testosterone level testing. They never did that, not even one time. We don't know what these athletes' testosterone levels are. What they did do was test the karyotypes of
So where can somebody link me a source on that? Besides the one statement that Kremlev made one time, or the one post he made on Telegram. Has the IBA ever released this? Is there a thing that I'm missing? Can somebody link me that somewhere?
These athletes, the only requirement was that these athletes had XX chromosomes, and they failed the test. No, they haven't come out and explicitly said these athletes have XY chromosomes.
Then why are you saying that?
But that's because the Algerian and Taiwanese Olympic Committee have refused the IBA to release these results.
Why would the Olympic Committee be able to refuse the IBA release the results when the IBA isn't even recognized anymore by the Olympic Committee? What? Why? That doesn't even make any sense. Why the fuck would the IBA even care? They're not even recognized by the Olympic Committee anymore. This all sounds like bullshit.
That's because the Algerian and Taiwanese Olympic Committee have refused the IBA to release these results. I mean, the requirement was have XX chromosomes, and they failed that. Therefore, let's use intuitive thinking here. Let's use our brains. We all have them. That means they have a Y chromosome. And if you have a Y chromosome, you are a male. I mean, do we need to send, like, half of the population back to 6th grade biology?
You just admitted that there is no such test.
They just said chromosomal test, and they failed. The requirement was 2 XX chromosomes, and they failed. Because of the Taiwanese and the Algerian Olympic Committee, they're not allowed to explicitly say these athletes have XY.
You know what?
Go watch the 30-minute. It's a 30-minute, very brief.
You're going to keep saying everyone's lying, but the answer is just do another test and show us. And there's a reason they're not doing it.
Okay. The Israeli Air Force launched strikes earlier tonight on Hezbollah targets within the towns of Yarun and Kfar Kela in southern Lebanon near the border with Israel. Damn.
Twist my point. You've been friends with Destiny for way too long. Even though I've disagreed with you on some issues, I always admire your honesty until today. And this is what happens when you are too emotional to understand the logical problem before you, Clint. The problem is a woman who supports men fighting women so much, she decided to enter the ring with a man. She lost. Publicly stated that she forfeited because her nose hurt, not because Khalif was a man. Then said, I hope Khalif makes it to the end and is happy. That is a progressive feminist who is advocating for men to fight women. And you said you were pulling your membership and your super chats from me for calling her out for supporting that. Your actions today send a signal that if progressive feminists support men fighting women, you will defend them if you're sad they got hit because of their own will. Okay, so be it. By all means.
Okay. How do you feel about Ayla's rape chart? The rape spectrum. Having sex with an unenthusiastic coworker. Or worker, sorry. What haven't we? Is this the same one from like a long time ago? I feel like we saw this a long time ago. He said, shouldn't stealthing be higher? Sneakily removing a condom during sex. On a scale from 0 to 100, she puts that at 73, which is, she puts that as worse than, or the survey puts that as worse than uninterested. Reserved person gets very drunk on date. The other person is sober. They have sex. Having sex. Person A begins. Hello?
Wanted your opinion on something.
Sure, go. I got like 1 minute. What do you got?
Sure. So, what do you think of the idea of two really, really hot identical twins, women, having a lesbian relationship and fucking?
I don't care. What do you mean?
You don't think that'd be hot?
Oh, yeah, probably, sure, yeah.
Yeah, that would be pretty hot. Do you know of any porn videos like that?
No, I don't usually watch twin porn videos. Sure, go. I got like 1 minute. What do you got?
Sure. So, what do you think of the idea of two really, really hot identical twins, women, having a lesbian relationship and fucking?
I don't care. What do you mean?
You don't think that'd be hot?
Oh, yeah, probably, sure, yeah.
Yeah, that would be pretty hot. Do you know of any porn videos like that?
No, I don't usually watch twin porn videos.
Yeah, I haven't been able to find any.
Oh, well, good luck finding them.
Alright, well, take care, dude.
Have fun. Okay. Somebody said, do I feel like this should be higher? Do you mean like lower on the chart or higher on the number? Personally, I feel like sneakily removing a condom during sex, that, if anything, I would say this would get... And even, like, this is a really, really, really bad thing to do, I think. This is one of the... I say it's one of the worst. There's a lot of bad things you can do with the rape stuff. This is a really, really, really bad thing to do. it's bad, but is it sexual abuse? I don't know if I would consider this sexual abuse. I think I might just consider this full-on rape. If you're fucking somebody and you both have the understanding and it's pretty explicit that somebody's using a condom and then somebody reaches down and sneakily removes it during sex, I think I would just consider that full-on rape. That's a pretty egregious violation of what you're consenting to insofar as sexual activity goes. If a woman lies about birth control, then I would consider that to be very close to the same level. It'd be slightly not as bad because it wouldn't affect like STDs and stuff, but I think that that's close. That wasn't your stance 2 years ago. 2 years ago, I was pro stealthing? Sounds hard to believe, my friend. Didn't you get into a huge Twitter fight arguing the opposite of this a few years ago? What was the stealthing discourse about? I thought it was the opposite. The big disagreement that I had 2 years ago, the huge disagreement that I had 2 years ago was when I said that some person complained that they'd gotten, it sounded like they'd complained initially that they'd gotten stealthed like 3 or 4 times, so they didn't feel comfortable saying anything. And my thing was, if that's happening to you, you need to stop having casual sex. That was the huge fight. It's possible that I said maybe, I mean, I'm saying I consider this rape. Maybe back then I said, oh, that would be like heavy sexual assault or something. I don't know, maybe the class, but it's still a really, really bad thing. I'm pretty sure back then I would have said it's a really bad thing too, but... You said it was tantamount to rape, but it wasn't rape. Oh, okay, sure.
Hi, this is Tim.
It's Kamala Harris. Good morning, Governor.
Good morning, Madam Vice President.
Listen, I want you to do this with me. Let's do this together. Would you be my running mate and let's get this thing on the road?
I would be honored, Madam Vice President.
Oh my God. I don't think this is real. How do they already have the video camera at his house? I bet this was staged.
The joy that you're bringing back to the country, the enthusiasm that's out there, it'll be a privilege to take this with you across the country.
Well, let me tell you, I have just the utmost respect for you. I have really enjoyed our work together. You understand our country. You have dedicated yourself to our country in so many different and beautiful ways. And we're going to do this. We're going to win. And we're going to unify our country. And
You know what the rule they should have? A law they should make? For no good reason, just to f with people in the country. It should be an FEC regulation that when you go to run for president, the only possible way you are ever allowed legally to choose your vice president is you have to pick who you want, who you think would be a good VP, and you have to propose it to them in public. You have to get down on one knee. You have to open a box that says, "Will you be my VP?" Just so we can have those moments. Not for any practical reason, but just because. Because why the fuck not? It'd be funny. Straight guys with bi partners for Harris Waltz. Why? This is a meme, right? Wait, what's happening here? Is this? I feel like this would be so fucking uncomfortable when you walk. Like it would like chafe and scrape against your ankles all the time. Or is there something? Is this like a style, or is there something else going on here?
I stand.
I'm gonna use the bathroom. Oh my God, they got Joe Biden to come.
I stand before you today to proudly announce I am now officially the Democratic nominee for President of the United States. And so now we got some work to do. We need to move to the general election and win that. Trump's type. So, let me just say, hold on.
I will say, okay, it is a bit of a funny role reversal to go from Donald Trump running against Hillary Clinton, who is under investigation for emails, for him to be chanting, lock her up, for him to say that somebody under FBI investigation should never be even allowed to even run for office, to now we have the flip side of that, of like a former DA and Attorney General is running against a guy who's actually been convicted of 34 felonies and is potentially facing 300 court cases. That's a pretty funny role reversal.
This campaign, our campaign, is not just a fight against Donald Trump. Our campaign, this campaign, is a fight for the future. It's a fight for the future. In Pennsylvania, we fight for a future with affordable housing, affordable health care, affordable child care, paid leave.
Read The Road to Unfreedom by Timothy Snyder. Nope.
Fight for a future where we build a broad-based economy, where every American has the opportunity to own a home, to start a business, and to build wealth. We fight for a future where we bring down prices that are still too high and lower the cost of living for America's families, so that they have a chance not just to get by, but to get ahead. We fight for a future where we defend our most fundamental freedoms. The freedom to vote. The freedom to be safe from gun violence. The freedom to love who you love openly and with pride. And the freedom of a woman to make decisions about her own body, not having her government tell her what to do. So, I love you too. So here's the thing.
That abortion thing is such a huge killer.
I can tell that she has a great sense of humor, but she hasn't told me a joke yet.
Want a career as a pet psychic? We're not the school for you. Want a career?
It's just such a not good thing for Republicans, in my opinion. I've always been of the mindset. I've always said that like Democrats should just drop the assault weapon shit. I think it's unpopular. It doesn't even serve their interests much. And I always felt like Republicans should just drop the abortion shit. It's way too divisive of an issue. Like if you're a Christian, you don't want one, don't get it. But like, why try to legislate this at the state level? I mean, like, it's just such a bad optics. But I don't know.
Since the day that I announced my candidacy, I set out to find a partner who can help build this brighter future. A leader who will help unite our nation and move us forward. A fighter for the middle class. A patriot who believes, as I do, in the extraordinary promise of America. A promise.
One thing that I loved about Biden, and I guess he's too old, he can't carry the message or whatever, but Kamala's continuing. I love this, and I love, because the Republicans have pivoted to such a party of negativity, and Democrats have capitalized on this, I love the positive American sentiment. One of my favorite things that Joe Biden would say over and over again is, what do you say, it's never a good decision to bet against America, or it's never a wise decision to bet against the American economy. I like that. That's good. True. We are awesome. Amen.
A promise of freedom, opportunity, and justice, not just for some, but for all.
Oh yeah, we own the finish line. True. Is there any gun issue that is too far for a Democrat? I think focusing on like some type, there is some middle ground legislation that I feel like most Americans, I think polls decently, like some type of more extensive background check or whatever, or some type of red flag law thing. I think most people would probably be okay with. I feel like that must be the case. Like even if it's temporary, like if somebody files a restraining order against you, maybe you've got like a 3-month hold before you can buy a firearm, right? So you're being deprived without due process a little bit, but I think there's a really compelling interest at the state. I think that would survive like any kind of like scrutiny. And I think these are things that like most Americans would say, like, okay, you've got a restraining order. Like, as surprising as it is, it's hard to tell it's hard to tell because the online discourse is so fucked. But then also, this is a very small selection. Like, I've spoken to Republicans in real life who seem to be okay with red flag laws. There was at least one guy that I spoke to about it, but he had like a personal example of it, of like some guy that was abusive to his girlfriend. She left, got a restraining order. He went, bought a gun, and then killed both of them, like her, like murder-suicide the next day. So he's like, yeah, maybe red flag laws are okay. Red flag laws are basically laws where you can basically put a hold on somebody, somebody from buying a firearm for some period of time, basically. Depending on how you structure these, I think that most people are okay. I think most people are okay with that type of thing, or a little bit of more of an extensive background check. I think people are okay with these things, but like the full-on like banning assault weapons and all the crazy restrictions is just fucking dumb. Yeah.
So Pennsylvania, I'm here today because I found such a leader.
That's not what red flag laws are. Red flag laws are a way to restrict people from purchasing firearms without requiring like a criminal conviction. It's some way of like flagging somebody. What do you mean, red flag law? Red flag laws provides procedural safeguards to ensure that no firearm is removed without due process while helping to prevent tragedies like the school shooting in Parkland, Florida, and the racist mass shooting. Complete ERPO application, any other necessary documents, submit your documents to the respondent's local Supreme Court. That day, the judge will review and decide if an ERPO should be issued. If granted, police will immediately remove guns from the respondent and bar them from purchasing guns. Quit your ban. Email me if you want to get unbanned. It's something that contradicts what I just said. Fucking read that. Why banning assault rifles but keeping hunting and handguns is dumb? Assault rifles were always meant for the military to kill people. Why is that bad though? Leaving handguns and hunting rifles. People, all guns are killing people. That's what guns, that's kind of what guns do. But like, people just don't kill people that much with assault rifles. Who cares? It's just like such a low kill count every year. It's like 300 to 500 people. It's like a drop in the bucket compared to everything else. But there's so much political capital that's expended on assault weapons and rifles. It's just not worth it.
So, to those who know him best, Tim is more than a governor. To his wife.
He was probably commenting that you didn't include they remove already owned firearms as well. Oh, well, he should have said it without being less of a cunt. But yes, that is true too. If you're able to get a restriction on somebody purchasing new weapons or whatever, if they already have a weapon, then yes, you might be able to go in. These are all structured in different ways, but you might be able to go in and prevent them from getting it too. The point is that if somebody's throwing up red flags, you got a way of preventing them from accessing firearms. Yeah.
When he is a husband, to his kids, Hope and Gus, he is a dad. To his fellow veterans, he is Sergeant Major Walls. To the people of southern Minnesota, for 12 years, he was congressman. To his former high school students, he was Mr. Walls. And to his former high school football players, he was...
Why is it such a common talking point? Are most viral shootings with rifles? I think that the most exceptional shootings are with rifles, and it's the scariest type of weapon, right? Like wasn't the Uvalde shooting with a rifle? The Vegas thing was with a rifle. Like the rifles are just like scary and they stand out in the big events. But in the overall grand scheme of like gun deaths in the United States, which I think aggressively or offensively they're around 20,000, I think, firearm murders a year, and then it's another 40,000 suicides, I think. But
Coach. And in 91 days, the nation will know Coach Waltz by another name, Vice President of the United States. Some folks, they're just getting to know Coach Waltz's story. And I'll tell you, he is the proud product of a middle-class family in rural Nebraska. He is a veteran who served our nation in uniform for more than 2 decades.
Wait, where in Nebraska?
Of the Army National Guard, and he went to college on the GI Bill. He is someone who, long before he entered politics, worked as a teacher.
Yeah, Westmont, that's right.
When Coach Walls and his wife Gwen moved from his native Nebraska to Minnesota nearly 30 years ago, they both took jobs at the local high school.
The Vegas guy used 24 different guns, including 14 rifles going to the wiki. Yeah, that guy was fucking decked out. That dude was like John Wick. I'm pretty sure he loaded a whole bunch of rifles. He had them like all set out on the windowsills. And then when it was like go time, it was like opening the windows, like unloaded all from one rifle, put it down, picked up the next, unloaded all. That guy was wild. And we never learned anything else about that. That was wild too. What the fuck? What happened with that guy? Why did he do it? Jesus.
Walls taught social studies. Gwen taught English.
Isn't he still alive? No way. I thought he killed himself. No?
After school, Tim was the linebackers coach for the football team. Where I've heard the stories about he had a knack for using the game of football to teach life lessons. He saw the potential in kids who sometimes didn't even see.
How did he carry that many duffel bags full of guns to the top of the hotel? That's a good question, actually. I'm adding that. Vegas shooting story. That because he had a lot of shit.
Today, not tomorrow, not next week. Today is the day I hope you will donate to support our movement. Because the truth is, time is running out. We're in the final lap of this race, and Election Day will be here before you and I know it. So I need you to act now so your donation can have the greatest impact. The stakes in this election could not be higher, and we cannot throw up our hands when we must roll up our sleeves. Let's get to work.
Hi, I'm in the UNHCR warehouse, and they're just giving me a tour of their stock, which is enormous. Cooking sets for an entire family, which consists of 2 pots and a frying pan, bowls. Everything's made out of steel, so that's enough for 5 people. That's one kit. Solar lamps, 2 different kinds of solar lamps, and blankets alone. They have 76,000 blankets here. Everything is made specifically for them.
Wikipedia Vegas shooter. That dude was just... This is wild. He fired off more than 1,000 rounds, killed 60 people, wounded at least 413 others. According to his girlfriend, Paddock repeatedly cased Las Vegas Village from different windows.
Right, so welcome everybody. My name is Otz, and this is our pal True Talon. True and I have a bit of a similar background. We've been playing DBD for many years. He started playing even before I did during the beta. And before that, we also share a bit of a background. We both used to play Dark Souls PvP. True's more of a fighting game specialist. He has a background in that. I'm more of a challenger on it. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm very, very competitive.
Oh yeah, no, that's one thing that you'll know about him if you engage with this contest, which you absolutely should. But the thing is that 3 years ago, we came together to analyze the state of DBD and argue a few things, right? Including, is the game killer-sided, survivor-sided? Should the game be balanced around hooks or kills? And a few other things here and there. It's been 3 years, and only recently someone resurfaced that debate and looked at it from the lens of the current DBD. And some of it is kind of depressing because we're still on the same issues, right? But there's also been some progress.
Well,
yeah, so this is gonna be like a redo of that, and we'll have a lot of new things to talk about. Maybe this time we'll disagree on different things. It's not really like a controversial or contrarian thing. I think the two of us want the game to be better in general. So the idea of this is just to learn something from each other, gain some insights, and obviously entertain you guys. Is that a fair assessment? Is that your mindset going into this?
Yeah, very much. Yeah.
Perfect. Well,
it's kind of just rehashing what we talked about and see if our minds have changed.
Yes,
really.
exactly. Also, one thing that I want to get out of the way, especially when I rewatched the debate, I feel like back then I made a lot of points that could have been a lot more concise. That didn't need to go into so much hypotheticals. I also feel like I talked over you a lot, and that's something that I've worked on. It's a flaw of mine. Do that. You just shout over me.
It can happen with streamers.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, but that's still no excuse. So I just wanted to put that out of the way this time. I'm gonna try to be a bit more concise. So how do you feel about talking about some of the things that maybe agreed a bit more on and touch up on some of the on the good
Yeah, I mean,
news.
I didn't actually look back at the videos. Like, I remember like all.
Yeah, I took some notes so that we would have at least a bit of guidance. And one of the
I
things
remember
that
the gist.
what's that?
I remember the gist. I remember me pretty much thinking by making the game about kills, it was going to go in the direction it's in right now.
Okay, that's I think that's the big cornerstone of the debate. We could save that out for a bit later. But one thing that we agreed on at the end of the debate was that at that time, 3 years ago, DBD had done a few small tweaks to certain killers that were very small but had a good impact, right? So, for example, back then they added an extra one fountain that already started corrupted for the plague, and we thought, okay, that's really good. They should do that more. Back then, they did not do that almost at all. They either reworked a killer, or they just left the killer untouched. And it was very rare for them to do little touch-ups after a killer's release. They have started to do that a lot more, and I mean, we've had Clown, Huntress. Do you feel that they've improved in that, and that's a positive thing, or
If I remember correctly, we were saying that you could do small changes and see the ripple effect of that change.
Oh, no worries.
I appreciate that, Plim. But yeah, they should do like really small changes and see the ripple effect, because the ripple effect can be huge in small things, right?
I know.
Like one of the better changes is the more percent on the kick when you kick Jen.
We even debated that briefly, because back then you had an idea that was like, what if we make Ruin like, somewhat basic to encourage killers? Because you gotta realize back then, especially without perks, like kicking a Gen did essentially nothing. The rotation was very small, you did zero damage up front. So it was so easy to fall back into Capital Link and not really play for the Gen, which is maybe the most objective, right? And since then, I mean, I think they've made some back and forth mistakes. We had the whole Gen kick era, which I think most people would agree was not the most brilliant and well thought out meta. But I agree. Like, for example, talking about how some small changes have big implications. Do you remember that against the Plague, people used to never cleanse, and now because there's one fountain, they don't do that anymore? Like, you're right, those small changes, given a bit of time, have big implications, and I think we could probably think of a lot more examples like that over time. So that's a positive thing.
Yeah.
Now, another thing that we disagreed on, but that I think I now would agree with you, was altruism, right? In the context of, is it better to go for kills and for hooks, and it's not very fun to tunnel one guy out? Back then I told you that the teams kind of had a responsibility to protect their weaker teammates, and we had a bit of a back and forth of this. I'm like, well, when I play against really good competitive survivors, even if there's one guy that don't hook, it's not so easy to get him because people take hits, you know, they do this, they do that.
Yeah, small, but especially with the UI as well. Now the UI's in the game, smart survivors will always
yeah, I guess that's another factor. But back then, back then, you were like, well, I don't care so much for that. It's not that interesting. And I think that's something we disagreed on. I'm starting right now to.
I didn't care about what.
Like, I brought up, okay, so good teams will try to protect. If someone's being tunneled, right, they'll try to protect him. And you asked me, well, is that so interesting? Like, you were like kind of dismissive. Like, is that really fun?
About what? Or what's the concept?
About the whole body blocking and altruism. And the thing is, back then, I thought that was interesting. I thought, yeah, let a good team show how good they are at taking hits for each other and protecting their weaker links and who's vulnerable. But the thing is, now the game, I feel, has gone in a really strange direction when I think altruism is no longer really fun at all. I don't know how you feel about it, but the whole dying on pallet with background player, flashlights being made a little bit easier, so it's particularly difficult to mess them up. For the people, buckle up. Like, all of these things that have been slowly added to the game are so tough.
It's because there's no counter to some of it. Like, that's the issue. If they were counterplay, like for the people, buckle up has no counterplay. Like, I mean, when you're in recovery, they do it and then they run off. That's why it's not interesting.
The counterplay is the same as before. It's like, oh, just play nurse, play a killer that can just power through it.
Yeah, but then you just have loads of nurses and stuff. Like, my whole thing was trying to make more killers viable so you can play against more killers. You can play more killers, you can play them in a fun way, and they can, you know, go against this kind of stuff. Like, yeah, you could just pick nurse, and then, you know, who cares about this bad balance here? Who cares about this bad balance? Like, oh, God pallet, fuck it, just fly through. Like,
well, that's one thing I think I've come to agree with you. I don't know if it's just that you saw it at the time, or if the game itself has changed. But I think right now, whereas altruism used to excite me, altruism now is very boring, even as a survivor. Like, it doesn't feel, obviously if you're playing solo, you're never gonna get anything done. You cannot trust your teammates to know anything about what you're gonna do or know your perks. But when you play with your friends or you know what to expect from them, some perks are so strong and they're not really that crazy. Sure, you could go for a super risky sabotage, which sounds really cool, but you can also just use for the people buckle up. Or just have this other,
I mean, you can use the Alex's toolbox, which is like simple as fuck too. Like, they've simplified a lot of stuff, I think. That's probably why. Like, even flashlight saves aren't that cool anymore.
No, I get that.
Such a long period of time to get the save. Before, you had to, like, time it, so you had to be like, you know, quite nice.
Yeah. I didn't mind that too much, because it's like, oh, just make it a bit more accessible, right, for people that don't have the perfect timing. I didn't mind that too much, but it's like one of the little grains of sand.
Kind of big though. Like, a flashlight save can completely destroy the killer.
Yeah, but I would rather they balance around something that is not impossible for everyone to pull off. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't mind that too much. If it's a bit more accessible, I do think that
like,
was
yeah, maybe. I mean, it weren't like crazy. I don't think too much things in DVD are too crazy. Like,
no,
you just waited for this animation of when it went down the first time and you hit. And
yeah, the thing is, I mean, it's a bit of a deeper analysis, and I don't know if we honestly care about it, but the thing about flashlights, right, is that if you wait until the killer begins to move, they can look away, obviously. And if you do it to
Everything you want is right here.
There's family
And fantasies.
There is murder.
Monsters.
And a lot of dragons.
This is the greatest team ever.
The Disney Plus Hulu Max Bundle. Plans starting at $16.99 a month.
Puffs Ultra Soft makes going back to school a breeze with cushiony thickness for every sniffle or sneeze.
When the song come on in the club, they gon' be like, damn, that's hot. And when they play it in the car, they gon' drop their tops like, damn, that's hot. They gon' mix it with Biggie, it was all a dream, like, damn, that's hot. Me and Keisha don't stop till the tick don't top, like, damn, that's hot. Don't trust him, though I still love him. No longer wonder, looking at his cousin, kinda buzzing. Loose off the goose.